Yes, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So in this video today, uh, I will be discussing on a topic that is the concept of Dvaita in Madhva Vedanta, from dualism to Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda. So before I get into the explanation of this topic and what is this concept of Dvaitavad? So what is this Dvaita? As you would have heard before in Madhva Vedanta, there is this concept of Dvaitavad or Tattvavad. So in that, I will just try to explain. Before we delve into this topic, I will try to give some introduction, some background. So the human being is always having some type of jigyasa, the will to know, okay, to the instinct to know something. That jigyasa you can find everyone has. The object of jigyasa could be anything, but that the desire to know is always there. And it is that jigyasa is one of the most powerful and sustaining instincts in human beings. Okay. So, and this instinct, uh, actually, this jigyasa, it begins at birth itself. So, it develops as self-awareness and external awareness or Vishaya Jnana. So, Atma Jnana, the person has some jigyasa. Who am I? Okay, who am I and why am I here? And the Vishaya Jnana. So, the things surrounding me or the things through which I am dealing with, what are they? Okay. So, such type of jigyasa or the things, the desire to know, the instinct to know, always the jiva has. Okay. And every human being, so it naturally seeks to expand experience, understanding, and insight. Now, because of this jigyasa, this fundamental urge to know, because of this jigyasa, it has resulted in so many different branches of knowledge systems. Okay, there are many different branches of knowledge. It could be material knowledge or spiritual knowledge for that matter, but there are many branches and many objects of the jigyasa. So, what are they? That is, like, for example, in material science, biology, sociology, environmental science, or political science, or economic psychology, or it could be even about spiritual subject matter, philosophy, darshana shastra. So, as the human being is having that instinct to know, instinct to the jigyasa he has, and if we talk about the spiritual spiritual subject matter, so especially in Indian intellectual tradition and the Vedas, in there, the instinct to know, of course, it is universal, but the different societies, okay, the different, it could be Indian society or Western society or different societies, they develop different systems of knowledge. Okay. And India has traditionally been a fertile ground for Tattva Shastra or Darshana Shastra. Okay. So in India, we have there is Shad Darshana. Okay. So in Shad Darshana, there is Nyaya, then Mimamsa, then Vaisheshika, Sankhya, and Vedanta, and many others. So in that, there is this Darshana Shastra. So Tattva Shastra. Okay. And the Vedas, they contain the seeds of numerous philosophical systems. So since there are many such type of darshanas, and in the Vedas only we find the seeds of such type of divisions or the branches of philosophical systems. Yeah. So having known this, that there is darshan shastra, and the person is always very much anxious to know, and that is the darshana shastra. In that there are so many different types of philosophical systems, um, through which like many different interpretations of Vedic statements can be derived. And many such meanings or interpretations of the Vedas when they are derived, and different branches of knowledge systems they are originated. Okay. Now, Indian philosophy, it's largely concerned. So the Darshan Shastra, it's largely concerned with what? It's concerned with the nature of reality or the tattva, the status of the individual soul, jiva, and the relation between the finite and the infinite. So, uh, Darshan Shastra is always concerned, if you see, the Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. Okay. So it discusses about that. There are different tattvas and about the nature of Jiva and what is the relationship between the Jiva and the Supersoul. Now, within Vedanta, this inquiry takes place through the interpretation of the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra, and the Bhagavad Gita. So, Vedanta, okay, like I just mentioned about the Shad Darshana. In that Shad Darshana, there is Vedanta Shastra. Okay, there is Vedanta Shastra. So, Vedanta Sutra or Uttar Mimamsa has been written by Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva only has written the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, that is Śrī Madhvācārya. So so the books or the composition of Vyasadeva, what are they? Such that the Brahma Sutras, Bhagavatam, and other books, Mahabharata. So that especially in the Vedanta Sutra, which Vyasadeva has written, so multiple interpretations we get, okay, in different sampradayas. So basically there are four authentic sampradayas. Madhva Sampradaya, four Vaishnava Sampradayas, Madhva Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, Nimbarka Sampradaya, okay, and Vishnu Swami Sampradaya or Vallabha Sampradaya. So in that, among each sampradaya is having its own hermeneutical approaches to the same scriptural corpus. Okay. So different Vedantic systems arise not from different scriptures, but from the different hermeneutical approaches to the same scriptural corpus. So hermeneutics means what? Hermeneutics means mimamsa, or how do we derive or how do we interpret the meaning of the Vedic statements? How do we understand those Vedic statements? So the metaphysics of that. Okay. So uh, the the metaphysical analysis of each sampradaya, it differs. Okay. But the shastras are same. The shastras are same, but still each sampradaya, they have different hermeneutical approaches. So as mentioned, I have mentioned that there are four sampradayas, and Śrī Madhvācārya, so through which the Madhva Sampradaya originated, Śrī Madhvācārya emerges as a powerful Vedantic thinker who strongly affirms the supremacy of the Supreme Being Vishnu or Brahman and rigorously defends the reality of the world and individual souls. So, Madhvacharya states that he states Hari Sarvottamatvam, or Vishnu is the Sarvottama, and there is no equal or powerful uh, truth like him. Okay, so he is the one and only the supreme being. There is no one who is equal with him in strength or in opulence or in knowledge or in vairagya. So the Hari Sarvottamatvam is expounded by Madhvacharya. And he also defends the reality of the world and individual souls. So that is are all his energies. So the Jagat and the Jiva, they are all, their reality also exists. So while refuting Advaitavad tells Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. That is their philosophy. That Jagat is Mithya, or it is not true. It is illusion. And individual souls, they also, like in this world, the souls are there, the jivas. So after liberation, they will merge in Brahman. They will become one with the Lord. They will merge in they don't have any separate existence when they get liberated. So this is what Advaitins tell. And to refute rigorously, so these two conceptions, that Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya, and that the Jivas, they merge eventually in Brahman after liberation, this is strongly refuted by Śrī Madhvācārya in his teachings. So for that, to refute Advaitavad and to establish the correct or the true knowledge, the true conception, the relationship between the Jiva and the Ishvara and the position of Ishvara, and that the Jagat is actually real. So Madhvacharya has explained all these topics very much with a lot of Shastric evidences, and uh, with uh, proper way of explanation. He has established this in his books. So his philosophy comes to be traditionally known as Dvaita Vedānta. Even Madhvacharya, his commentary on Brahma Sutra is known as Purna Pragya Bhashya. Purna Pragya is another name of Śrī Madhvācārya. So, however, this term Dvaita itself soon becomes a source of serious misunderstanding. Now, this word Dvaita means what? Duality or two. It becomes a source of serious misunderstanding. How? It is very much, and this word Dvaita has led to many such confusion. So, we will see, we will try to understand how this word Dvaita is actually it's we are how this word Dvaita is actually giving some different meaning or some other improper meaning as compared to what actually Madhvacharya came to give. Okay. So this concept of Dvaita, what is that? The term Dvaita is commonly used to denote the philosophical system of Śrī Madhvācārya. Yes. Why Dvaita? He tells because there is Ishvara and Jiva. Okay. So these both are always different. Even after the liberation, also their individual identity exists. So it's not that after liberation, Jiva merges in Brahman. It's not like that. That's why this Dvaita Vedanta, this term was coined. And it's traditionally known as that. A section of Madhva's followers holds the view that the term Dvaita, though traditionally current, is not fully adequate to express the true metaphysical doctrine of Madhva. Now, some group of Madhva scholars, so they hold this view that this term Dvaita is actually improper, not fully adequate. Why? Because it does not express the meaning or the metaphysical doctrine which Madhvacharya gave. So the metaphysics or the philosophical concepts about the Jiva, Ishvara, the relationship between them, the nature of Jagat, and how to understand them through the statements of Shastras. So how to interpret the Vedic statements and to understand the topics. So this word Dvaita is actually not fully adequate. And it is argued that the Sanskrit word Dvaita and its equivalent English equivalent word dualism carry certain philosophical association derived from the ancient and modern Western thought. So this word Dvaita and this word dualism, they are carrying different philosophical associations, because this dualism word, how the Western, how this modern Westerners think about it, how the meaning is usually being understood, that is far much different than what actually Madhvacharya intended by the word, or by what he has explained in his Sarvamula Granthas. So Madhvacharya has written totally 37 Sarvamula Granthas. In that only he has explained all of this, the topic. These associations do not accurately represent the philosophy of Madhva. The word dualism or this word Dvaita, they actually not accurately represent. So we will try to understand why. Because what exactly this word dualism mean, or how what exactly this meaning, how it is associated with the modern Western thought, we will try to understand now. And because of this careless application of the terms Dvaita and dualism, Madhva's philosophy has often been misunderstood. So what exactly Madhvacharya wanted to explain, and what how the Dvaita and dualism, so these two words, they are giving some other meaning. So that is like very much because of these words only, Madhva's philosophy, it's very much misunderstood. And it has led to this incorrect estimation of the highest reach and depth of Dvaita philosophy. So, consequently, in modern philosophical circles, Madhva's system has sometimes been summarily dismissed as a form of hopeless dualism. So, because of this, the modern philosophical circles, in that sometimes this Madhva's philosophy is summarily dismissed as a form of hopeless dualism. So, how it is dismissed, we'll try to understand. In recent times, among educated and informed circles, a misconception has developed about Madhva's true and highest metaphysical position. And because of this misunderstanding, an ordinary reader may form an entirely wrong idea of Madhva's dualism, or be discouraged from studying it further. Therefore, it becomes necessary to certainly explain the true significance of the term Dvaita as it is understood within the authentic Madhva tradition. So that's why, since the English equivalent word of Dvaita, or the even the word Dvaita, is improperly being translated, and it is conveying some different meaning as compared to what exactly Madhvacharya wanted to give. That's why it is need of an hour to explain this concept, explain the topic exactly, what he meant by the word Dvaita. Okay. So the meaning of Dvaita should be explained as applied to Madhva's own philosophical system, and not through ideas borrowed from elsewhere or from Western thought. It should not be borrowed from there, because the Western thought, or the English, these words, they are altogether, they are having a different way of the set of meanings. Okay, even the word duality, and how that word conveys a different kind of meaning. That's all together. So that's why the Sanskrit words, they have to be sometimes be elaborated even through the English, and it has to be clarified properly in English line, using multiple words to explain the true intended meaning of the Sanskrit word. Otherwise, if we just try to translate it as it is, then it will result in ambiguity. Now, philosophical associations attached to the term dualism in other traditions should not be allowed to cloud judgment. Considering the modern philosophical climate, one may even question whether the present designation Dvaita is adequate, or whether a new and more expressive term is required. So, considering the modern philosophical climate, because of that, and the English language, if we try to translate, so we sometimes we question that whether this currently this term Dvaita be even should be it should be even uh, it should be even spoken, or the vyavahara of this word should be done or not. Okay. So in Western philosophy, what is the problem? So why there is this problem to use this word dualism or Dvaita? So the thing is, in Western philosophy, dualism generally means that a theory that accepts two independent and mutually irreducible substances. So in dualism means like there are two components, there are two objects which are independent and completely like they are mutually irreducible substances. So and they are completely distinct, that's fine, but they are two independent also. Like for example, there could be world versus time. So both are like completely different. And in Indian philosophy also, Sankhya dualism fits this definition. So in Indian philosophy, currently, if we see this word dualism, it very much aligns with the definition of Sankhya dualism. In Sankhya philosophy, they tell Prakriti and Purusha, they are distinctly different. They are two independent objects, two independent tattvas. But actually, Madhva's dualism or Madhva's Dvaitavad is fundamentally different from what is being usually conceived, the what meaning is derived from the word dualism. So while Madhva accepts two irreducible principles, he does not accept them as equal or independent. Okay. So definitely we accept Madhva accepts that these two substances or these two principles, they are irreducible, or it's they are distinct. That is accepted, but it's not accepted that they both are on the equal level, or both are independent. Like for example, Ishvara and Jiva, they both stand at the same platform. No, and they are not equal. And Ishvara is independent, Jiva is dependent on Ishvara. So Madhva tells that Ishvara is Svatantra Tattva or the independent Tattva, and the Jiva is Paratantra Tattva or dependent on Ishvara. So that's what Madhva wants to intend through the word Dvaita. Okay, but the dualism, this word, the word dualism in Western philosophy conveys a different meaning altogether. And that's why this word dualism is completely inappropriate to use as an equivalent word to denote Dvaita. Okay. So now Madhva's central doctrine, what is that? Svatantra and Paratantra. According to Madhva, God Vishnu, Lord Vishnu is the one and only independent principle, Svatantra Tattva. He has very much explained this, the Svatantra and Paratantra topic. He has explained in his Sarvamula Grantha, that is Tattva Sankhyanam. In that he has explained elaborately. Everything else is dependent. So only Vishnu is Swatantra, and everything else that is dependent on him. And all finite realities such as Prakriti or Purushas means the souls, the jivas, and Kala, Karma, then Swabhava, intrinsic nature of the jivas, they are completely dependent on God. Okay, so they don't exist they don't exist independently of God. No. Thus, reality, the tattva, is divided into two orders: Swatantra and Paratantra. This distinction is the keynote of Madhva's philosophy. Okay. Now, a common objection to dualism in the Western sense is that it implies an eternal opposition or conflict between two realities. Okay. So in Western philosophy, the dualism means there are two independent realities. Okay, and they always have eternal opposition or conflict. Okay, they always have the eternal opposition, because both are having same power. Yes, both are having same strength, both are standing on the same platform, and both are independent. So always there is a conflict between those two independent realities. So that's what dualism in the Western sense implies. But this objection does not apply to Madhvacharya's system. because Madhvācārya carefully avoids this problem by saying, by establishing a difference in status between the two principles. That even though there are two principles, that is fine, but one is independent and another is dependent on that independent. Okay. And that dependent reality, the finite beings and matter, exists only because of the independent reality God and is dependent on Him for existence, for activity, and for the changes, for the transformation. Hence, because of that, there is no rivalry or opposition between these two principles. So, in that way, this conception of a dualism in the Western sense, the objection of that, it's completely refuted. It's not at all applicable in the philosophy of Madhvācārya. Now, broadly speaking, Dvaita in Indian philosophy signifies that a system that accepts more than one fundamental metaphysical principle or a permanent and fundamental distinction between the human soul and the supreme being. Okay. So, the fundamental metaphysical principle. So, definitely Dvaita means two, and there are two principles. And there is distinction, there is fundamental and permanent distinction between Jiva and Ishvara. And this distinction is maintained for all time, even after a person gets the liberation. Okay. So this distinction always stays, even while a person, while the jiva is in jagat, is conditioned, or after when the jiva transcends the material condition. So that this type of distinction, this bheda, is always there. Now Shankara's view on dualism. Okay, so Shankaracharya's view on dualism. Let's see what Shankaracharya has to say. So according to Shankaracharya, dualists accept bondage and liberation as real states of the Atma. And Advaitins, on the other hand, deny the ultimate reality of these states with respect to the Atma. These contrasts highlights a realistic attitude toward lived experience in dualistic systems. Okay. So Shankaracharya, according to Shankaracharya, the dualists or the Dvaitins or the people who believe in Dvaita, the Dvitvam, okay, there are two principles. So they accept that bondage and liberation, they are also the real states of the Atman. Okay, the real states, the intrinsic nature of the Atman, that is bondage also and liberation also. But Advaitins, what do? They deny the ultimate reality of these states with respect to the Atma. So Advaitins denied that in the ultimate reality, deny the ultimate reality of these states with respect to the Atma. So there is no bondage and liberation also in them. So the jiva, after he merges into Brahman, so he loses his own individual nature. That's what Advaitins tell. Okay. And Dvaita and the reality of experience. So dualism affirms that our finite embodied experiences are real. Okay. So it's not mithya. It's not mithya. The jiva is not that after liberation he merges or the jagat is mithya. Not like that. The dualism affirms that the embodied experiences or whatever experiences the jiva has, they are actually real. It's not mithya. Okay. And efforts toward liberation from bondage have real value and validity. And whatever efforts we do toward the liberation from bondage. Okay. So whatever efforts, like for example, if we do the effort towards liberation by following some process, so they are having real value. It's not they are having real value and validity. So even after liberation, also their individual identity is retained. So these experiences which we have in this world, they are not illusory and are not mere products of avidya. Okay. And this realistic approach to life and liberation is fully present in Madhva's philosophy. So basically, whatever we experience in this world, whatever we experience in this material world, and after liberation, the experiences what we have, okay, the jiva, his real identity or the individual identity also exist in reality. Okay, nothing is mithya. So the jagat or the experiences which we have in this world, that is also not mithya. It is real. So that is a very much big difference between what Advaitins tell and what the Dvaitins state. So what dualism really emphasizes? So the central emphasis of dualism lies in the number of ultimate realities or categories, not merely in their mutual relationship. So just as realists may differ regarding one or many ultimate reals and whether these are knowable in themselves, dualists may also differ regarding independence or interdependence of principles, their exact metaphysical relationship. So the central emphasis on Dvaita, it lies on the number of ultimate realities or categories. So how many totally uh, the tattvas are there? Okay. So, and what is there? So, which one is independent and which one is having interdependence, and their exact metaphysical relationship. Okay. So, that's what the Dvaitins did. And there are also many other such realists. So, there are many different darshanas. So, they also may differ regarding one or many ultimate reals and whether these are knowable in themselves. So, they might differ in that. But Dvaitins are very much clear that which is the Svatantra Tattva and which is the Paratantra Tattva, and the relationship between them. So Madhva's critical insight on dualism, and Madhva demonstrates through logical analysis that accepting two equally independent ultimate realities leads to logical contradiction and philosophical inconsistency. Okay. So, if Madhvacharya states that if we take both, like even both of the tattvas, like the Swatantra and Paratantra, if both are equal and both are independent, then it will be illogical, and logical contradictions will happen as per to the reality of this material world. Like if whatever we see in reality, and also there'll be a lot of philosophical inconsistency. So it will be definitely very much against the Vedic statements. Such a position would amount to a logical monstrosity, very much erroneous. Therefore, Madhva firmly establishes that there can be only one independent reality, and all the other realities must be subordinate, dependent, governed by the independent reality. Okay. And the Swatantra Tattva is the one and only independent substance. No other reality shares the status of independence. And the dependent reals, so Jiva and Prakriti and others, they also are eternal. The dependent realities do exist from eternity according to Vedanta. However, they do not exist in their own right or independently. Their exist is possible only by the will and support of the Supreme Being, and the dependence of finite reality on the Supreme. So all these finite realities owe their very existence, knowledge, and activity to the Supreme Being, and nothing finite exists, knows, or acts independently. So this is the Svatantra and Paratantra. Now the statements, like for example, Ekam eva Advitiyam Brahma. So in Upanishads, there are such statements. Now, such statements, how they have to be understood. So, Ekam eva Advitiyam. So, there is only one Advitiya Brahma. According to Madhvacharya, this Upanishadic statement, Ekam eva Advitiyam Brahma, does not mean an acosmic monism of the type proposed by Shankara. So, acosmic monism. Acosmic monism means what? That there is Brahman, and apart from Brahman, everything is mithya. Apart from Brahman, everything is mithya. So this is not accepted. This is not correct meaning according to Madhvacharya to the Upanishadic statement, Ekam eva Advitiyam Brahma. Instead, this statement it signifies that there is absolute primacy of the Supreme Being as the center of all the reality. And the Supreme alone is absolutely independent. So, Ekam Eva, there is only one who is what? Advitiyam Brahma. So, Advitiyam means in this context that there is only one absolute independent. It does not mean that all the other things apart from this, apart from the Svatantra Tattva is mithya. Not like that. Advitiyam here means that everything has to be centered. So Lord, Supreme Being is the center of all the reality. And He is the alone independent reality and everything is dependent. So that is what Ekam Eva Advitiyam Brahma has to be understood. The realization, so here we see teleological meaning of the finite existence. So teleological means it should be goal driven. Okay. It should be goal based. So the realization of the supreme truth leads to a striving for the realization of the supreme being alone. And all the other ends, pursuits, and attraction of finite life becomes secondary or excluded. So, since the supreme truth is independent, it's the center of all activity. It's the duty of all living entities that they strive for the realization of the supreme being alone, and all the other things they are secondary. So that should be the goal driven. That should be the teleological purpose. That should be the goal for all of the jivas and a profound spiritual significance. So it's not that finite existence is not meaningless, it is oriented toward the supreme. So the finite existence or the Paratantra Tattva, it's not mithya, but it is, they have the teleological purpose or the goal. They are goal driven. And what is that goal? So that the goal is to realize the supreme being. Now, Jayatirtha Muni, so he is one of the great exponents of the Madhva Siddhanta. He gives a classical and systematic expression to this metaphysical vision that the Jiva is the Paratantra and his only goal is to serve or to do the Atma Sakshat, to realize the nature of the Supreme Being and to serve Him. So this metaphysical vision he systematically explains. He articulates the new interpretation of Upanishadic monism as developed by Madhva. So what does he write? He explains that all Vedantic texts unanimously proclaim the majesty of the Supreme Being. So all Vedic statements they proclaim the majesty or the Shaktimatvam or the Sarvottamatvam of Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is described a storehouse of innumerable auspicious attributes, qualities, and is completely freed from all imperfections. Even the scriptures describe the Supreme Lord from different standpoints, including as endowed with positive attributes such as omniscience, lordship over beings, inner control of all creatures as Paramatma, yes. And also they describe in a Vyatireka form or the negatively, that is free from sin, free from suffering, free from material embodiment, and as beyond avang manasa gochar, as beyond the reach of mind and speech, emphasizing divine transcendence. So he cannot be fully understood. So he is anantam. So, and as the only one that truly exists, urging exclusive devotion to Him, as the self of all, conferring on everything else, existence, knowability, and activity. So that's why the existence and everything. So all the activities and the knowability, the Satchidananda. Yes. So he is the Satchidananda Vigraha. And the Paratantra Tattva's existence, the very existence and the knowledge and the activities, they are all dependent on that Swatantra Tattva. Okay. And these diverse descriptions are not contradictory. So whenever such statements come like uh, that Ekam eva Advitiya Brahma, they are not at all contradictory, but they converge only toward one single purpose, Mahatatparya. And what is that Mahatatparya? To reveal the transcendent and immanent majesty of God as present both in the Atman and in the world. Okay. So in the Atman, in the Jiva as Paramatma, and as the in the world that he is only governing. So all of the activities in this material world. And he's the supreme, so supreme Lord. Now, one without a second. So that's what we mentioned, that Ekam Eva Advitiya Brahma, that one. Therefore, the scriptures sometimes describe God as one without a second. And this does not deny the reality of finite selves, Prakriti, or other dependent souls. The finite realities are real, but when compared with the Supreme, they are as nothing in terms of independence and self-sufficiency. Okay. But their inferiority does not negate their existence, even though they are Paratantra Tattva, but it does not denote their very existence. And Madhvācārya strongly echoes this scriptural sentiment in his works. Okay. So this doctrine of Svatantra and Paratantra, so it completely rules out any notion of hopeless dualism. Okay. This hopeless dualism, that even though it's not that the uh, even though the jiva and the ishvara, they are like they are distinct even after liberation. So because of that, it's not that uh, the liberation of the jiva is very much improper, or it is not properly, it's like unfinished, or still the jiva is conditioned after even liberation, or in that way, because Jiva is again retaining the identity after the liberation. It's not like that. Okay. Even though the Jiva is eternally distinct from the Supreme Lord, but still the dependency is always there on the Supreme Lord. Okay. And whatever his very existence is dependent on God, and his very activity or his duty is to engage in the service of the Lord. Okay. So that is what is the duty of the jiva. So even though after liberation of the jiva, it's retaining the identity, its own identity, even after liberation, he still engages in the service of the Lord. And it's not that he merges in Brahman. So in that way, this term, so this concept of hopeless dualism, it rules out. At the same time, it fully preserves the reality of the finite world, and this doctrine ensures unity of God, sovereignty of God, and absolute independence of God. All these are made consistent with rational thought and metaphysical reasoning. So the Madhvācārya, he has explained this, and he has explained with a lot of uh, shastric evidences. Nothing he has concocted, nothing. So everything he has backed up with the lot of shastric evidences, and has properly established about the Svatantra Tattva and Paratantra Tattva and its metaphysical reasoning, the relationship between the two. And Madhvācārya achieves a balanced synthesis between the abstract monism of Shankara and the crude notion of hopeless dualism. So the abstract monism of Shankara is what? That after liberation, the jiva merges with the Brahman. No, it's not like that. And the crude notion of hopeless dualism, so it's not that always it is retaining. So what will happen? So what will happen if the jiva does not retain, if the jiva does not retain its identity? So then what will happen to him? So then he will merge. Okay. But if the jiva retains the identity, then he will not be getting proper liberation, or his liberation is fragmented. Okay. So that type of crude notion is also refuted through the balanced synthesis between these two. Okay. His system improves upon Shankara's monism and avoids the defects of equal dualism. So Shankara's monism is also that concept of merging is also improper, even though a person gets liberated, but still after liberation also that jiva retains the identity. And the equal dualism is also very much refuted. So both one is Paratantra and one is Svatantra. So this synthesis is Madhva's distinctive contributions to Vedantic philosophy. Now, these limits of the term dualism. So, these limits of this term is dualism is what? It's very much inadequate to express the depth, the richness, the metaphysical precision of Madhva's Dvaita philosophy. Even the Sanskrit term Dvaita literally indicates only the number of fundamental principles. Yeah, Dvaita means just two. But it in itself does not convey the hierarchical relationship between the two. So, therefore, the exact nature of this relation between realities, their relative metaphysical status must be explained through special definition and clarification. So, the Dvaita in itself, just the etymological meaning of this word Dvaita, it's insufficient to explain the metaphysical status of the both of the realities, the relative metaphysical status, and because of that, there is a requirement of special definition and clarification of the philosophy propounded by Śrī Madhvācārya. So B.N.K. Sharma, who was a very great Madhva scholar and has written many books on Madhva Siddhanta, he suggests that the word Svatantra, this term can be used Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda as a more accurate designation for Madhva's philosophy. And this term Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda, it actually directly conveys that the highest metaphysical reach of Madhva's thought and the core metaphysical ideology consistently stressed by Śrī Madhvācārya and systematically expounded by Jayatirtha. Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda. Okay. So this term does justice to both aspects of reality, the infinite and the finite. And the expression Advitiya so is interpreted by Madhvācārya in his Chandogya Bhashyam. That is, Advitiya means asahaya anumatatva, anuttamatva, asahaya anuttamatva. So absence of a peer or superior. So there is no something which is superior to that independent reality or same or in equal status, and not as denial of other reals, but just there is no one who is equal or superior to him. Thus, the reality of lesser reals, the aparatattva such as matter, prakriti, and jivas, is implicitly accepted under the Ishvara Adhisthana or the sovereignty of God. And unity of Brahman and rejection of internal distinctions. So there are some statements in Shastra which state Neha nanasti kinchana. So Neha nanasti kinchana, they are interpreted as negating internal distinctions, nanatva within Brahman, not negating the reality of dependent entities. So this Upanishadic statements, Neha nanasti kinchana. So it's the meaning is not that there are no different there is no other reality apart from supreme law. It's not like, but internal distinctions within Brahman there is not there. Okay, that's the Svagata Bheda Vivarjita Atma. The internal distinction within Brahman it's actually negated. Na iha nanasti kincha. So in the Lord, in the na iha means in Brahman, na, there is no nana asti. Nana means many different types. Kinchana, not even little bit also. So there is no svagata. We cannot just cut down Brahman and this portion of Brahman or Brahman is like there is no personal form, but he is completely just spread. So there is no personal form, but he is spread in this whole material world. So it's not like, and we can do the portions of Brahman. No, we cannot. The unity of Godhead, Brahma Aikya, is emphasized by excluding distinctions of substance and attributes in Brahman. So in attributes, the substance, okay. So in Brahman, there is definitely there is no internal distinctions. Okay. But the attributes, the guna bheda, they are there. There are many gunas, there are many different gunas are there of Brahman, which are logically unseeable in Brahman. Even these are denied through significant negation, arthapatti nisheda, not absolute negation. So uh, that's why there is no absolute negation. Okay. So the guna bheda, it's not that. So guna bheda, it's not that based on the gunas, the Brahman is divided. Not like that. Or Brahman does not have its own existence, but it is like divided based on different gunas. It's not like that. But there are different gunas. Okay. And there is no absolute negation of that. But there is also not swagata bheda within in Brahman. There are no any internal distinctions. Okay. So philosophical role of the term Svatantra, and the Svatantra, this word is actually in the uh, word Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda. So in this word, in this term, Svatantra, it's the absolute transcendent of the supreme. It actually tells Paratvam, and along with his immanence, uh, antarvyapti in all dependent realities. So he is all pervasive. And it clarifies how Madhvācārya's conception of Brahman differs fundamentally from Shankara's Nirvisheshavad. Okay. And systematically balanced with the other Vedantic schools also, this term Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda. Nirvisheshadvaita Shankara, Shuddhadvaita, Vishishtadvaita. It places clear emphasis on the primacy of the Supreme as the Parasiddhanta of Madhva system. The teachings concerning Jivas, Prakriti, karma are thereby correctly treated as Aparasiddhanta. Okay. So in that way, this Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda, this term, it's actually a proper definition of what is Madhva Vedanta. And B.N.K. Sharma, so he also notes that this designation, this Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda, he also proposed it many years ago in his work Svatantra-Advaita. In his work Svatantra-Advaita, and this term received high pontifical approval from Sri Satyadhyana Tirtha, pontiff of the Uttaradi Matha at that time. And its adoption would actually, the adoption of this term would sharply focus attention on the highest metaphysical standpoint of Madhva Vedanta and do so more effectively than the conventional label Dvaita. So that's why this term could be used conventionally rather than using the word Dvaita, the label Dvaita, to denote the Madhva's philosophical system. And afterwards, the author or the B.N.K. Sharma, he leaves it to the followers of Madhvācārya to assess and adopt the suggestion on its merits. So it depends on the followers of Madhvācārya to use this word or not based on their opinions to use this term Svatantra-Advitīya-Brahmavāda. So with this, I would like to conclude here. And in this way, I would be conducting, I would be publishing many videos and making such presentations on Madhva philosophy. So in the upcoming also, I will explain about Madhvācārya's interpretation of the Upaniṣadic statements and how he has the metaphysical analysis of Madhva's philosophy and how he interprets the Vedic statements and what is his viewpoint in line with the Shastras, and many more such topics I will be covering in the coming future. So thank you so much for watching this video. Yeah, Hare Krishna.